Good evening. Welcome to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Joined now, as always, by Jeff K at the Jeff K on Twitter and the Old Bowl coach, Coach Mark Stone. Guys, how we doing?
Doing great. Got our good feel last weekend with football, and just excited about heading on through the end of the year.
Yep, same. Coach Stone could have said better myself. 9 championship games in 3 days at Finley Stadium last weekend was definitely a great way to end the year. We had some great matchups in those games. We'll kind of go through some of those, and the ones that weren't as close as we were expecting had a lot of star power, a lot of good recruits going into next year. So, if you missed out at Finley Stadium this weekend, definitely make plans to do it next year for the TSSAA Blue Cross Bowl because it comes back once again this time next year. So, just a great weekend, a great showcase for the area and the city, and just a great way in the football season, like I said. So,
yeah, like you said, a good job for Chattanooga there. Hats off to Chattanooga for putting this thing on and really doing a good job. I thought Chattanooga did a fantastic job of hosting the Blue Cross Bowl. So hats off to them. Guys, did you get your Christmas tree up?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Jeff Kate, yes.
Yeah.
Coach Mark Stone, no.
He's probably going to wait till December 23rd or 24th to put that tree up, aren't you, Stone?
Oh, my gosh. It can't last that long. I'm looking for a miracle.
A Christmas miracle he needs.
Yeah, to get the Christmas tree up.
Now, we did that a couple weeks ago, I believe. We were out of town for Thanksgiving, so when we got back, that tree was up within a few days. And now that's not to say the boxes in the tree bag are still sitting in the living room because we're still trying to figure out things. But the tree is up, the lights are on, the stars on top of the tree, and
the inflatables are up.
I've got a few days. I got a few days to catch up, right?
Yeah. We'll forgive you.
Yeah, and the most important thing, my little one's inflatables are up in the front yard, so bringing attention to the neighborhood, which is okay by us. So we're ready to rock and roll for Santa Claus.
How many of those inflatables are in said yard, Jeff Kate?
Oh, let's see. Well, obviously you can see the mouse ears right there. So there's a Mickey and Minnie inflatable. So we are a Disney household for sure, which means we don't have as much money these days. But those two are there. There's for Christmas last year, she got a 6-foot penguin that moves his mouth and holds a fish in its hand. So it's like it's eating the fish with a toboggan or a Santa Claus hat on his head. And the last one in the yard is Frosty the Snowman, which is about 3 feet tall. Now, there are more in the attic, but there's not enough electrical outlets outside of the front of our house to connect all those. But yeah, she loves those things, and they're pretty cool, right? I've seen Buddy the Elf from the movie Elf and Ralphie from A Christmas Story. I've seen an inflatable like that at one of the eateries in Ottawa wearing the pink nightmare suit. So yeah, I mean there's something for everybody. So I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for her to want one of those, and then we'll be okay.
Jeff K, I have a statement for you. You will probably like this. I sat in my bed, and Christmas Story was on TBS the other night. Watched Christmas Story. Well, right after it, Christmas Story came on at 10 p.m. At midnight, A Christmas Story 2 came on.
Hopefully you turn it off.
A Christmas Story 2 might be the worst movie I've ever seen.
I'm not saying
I'm not absolutely terrible.
I'm not saying Christmas Story is terrible, but yeah, Christmas Story 2.
That's basically what you've said the past 2 weeks.
Oh, that's right. I mean, there's no proof, there's no evidence about that. So definitely don't go back and watch the past shows. But yeah, I mean, Christmas Story is still cool. But yeah, if I saw Christmas Story 2 come across my TV, I would probably almost have to give it a swift kick to the screen and knock it off of there. So
terrible, absolutely terrible.
Well, my number one job is to get the tree from the basement up here. We got the decorations over here. They're ready to go. We've had a little sickness in the family, but we might have to leave it up a little bit after New Year's.
Yeah, so you missed the time from before Christmas, and that just shifts to after the holiday.
We had talked about Christmas tree as far back as Halloween, but it's just
I tell you what you ought to do, Coach Stone. You ought to talk Linda into keeping the tree up year round, and just decorating the tree for each separate holiday.
I have experienced that with
You have.
with my wife. We took all the ornaments and off the tree,
Yeah.
and then decorated it for Valentine's Day. I think we may even done something for New Year's, and I think Linda, she's shaking her head no, but one thing I wouldn't be allowed to do, and I don't want to be allowed to do it, is hang all the ornaments on the tree because they'd all be in
one spot.
Yeah, so
there's an art to ornament hanging, Coach Stone. You have to space them out. Good ones in the front, bad ones in the back.
That's true, and I won't attempt that. I may hand them, but somebody else is going to place them.
Yeah, that's what my dad does. Dad sits in the recliner with the tub of ornaments there.
I could see your dad doing that.
Sits them out, and he holds his fingers like this and puts them on his fingers, and we come out and get them.
I could see your dad doing that.
Yep, so. That's what he does. Jeff, Kate, let's talk a little bit about the football that was played in Chattanooga this past week. What do you say?
Yeah, a lot of it, huh? I think we have a little bit to talk about. So let's dive right into it.
All right, let's do that. So let's start with the games on Thursday. One game included in that would be Macaulay, correct?
Indeed, yep. They were the primetime matchup of day one of the Blue Cross Bowl. So I didn't get to see the first two games. The first game of the weekend and the day really was Lipscomb Academy, as we talked about before, coached by former NFL quarterback and Super Bowl champion Trent Dilfer. They won the Division II AA state championship. They had a shutout against CPA, so it didn't really surprise anybody there. But yeah. And then the game between Macaulay and Lipscomb Academy was a Donaldson Christian Academy Nashville Christian matchup, and that was for the Division II Single A championship. DCA won that 31-7. So you had really two kind of not sleepers, but let's just call it the way it is. Two sleepers before that matchup with Macaulay and NBA on Thursday night, and right away you could tell as when I got there, talk radio and Sport Talk was having a remote there, so we kind of piggybacked that off the red zone. So we were in there in the end zone watching, people file in, and NBA brought a pretty good crowd, but Macaulay definitely brought the heat on the football field and the fans in the stands for the long, less than 5 mile drive from their campus over to Finley Stadium. So definitely a great crowd, and they captured their third straight Division II AAA state championship with that 28-7 victory over NBA. And that game, these two teams met early in the season in September, and that was a 3-point Macaulay win. So Macaulay definitely showed us that, hey, we're still the kings of the hill in this state in Division II AAA. So congrats to Coach Ralph Potter and his team for sure, because that's definitely impressive. Their fourth state championship in school history, third in a row, and looking like to be the early favorites to go for the four-peat for sure. So definitely a great way to get the weekend started. It was great weather that night and all weekend, so you couldn't have asked for a better way to start off the championship weekend than we did Thursday night for sure.
I was very impressed with all weekend. I had a little glitch there on Thursday, but
that's Jeff Cates' fault, right, Coach Tom?
Yeah, I'm not blaming it on Jeff. I was just very impressed with the whole weekend. The city of Chattanooga, the sports authority, whatever that is, and all the football games. But I was super excited about it being in Chattanooga, and everybody I talked to says, we need to fight it to keep it back down there.
And, it's going back to Macaulay, they definitely flexed their muscle. Everybody knew kind of going into that game. They were probably the team that was favored the most in their state championship game. You could probably say Oakland, was heavily favored against Summit as well. And 6A, we'll get into that matchup because there was some several great Division I prospects in that game Saturday night at Finley Stadium. So, but yeah, as far as this one goes, it all started with Macaulay's defense and throw in the efforts of William Riddle, the quarterback for the Blue Tornado. I think it was 10 of 15 for 170 plus yards. So, I mean, consistent quarterback play has been, his MO all season. He was a Mr. Football finalist for the Division II slot as well. So, I mean, it was totally a true team effort. I think they had some special teams hiccups, I believe. I have to go back and read my notes, but that was pretty much the only thing that went wrong. And, they didn't pitch the shutout. That was a touchdown late or in the second half as well. So, but still a 28-7 victory this time of year, especially in a championship environment like this, definitely puts a stamp and a statement maker for the Blue Tornado on this perfect season they had once again.
I've always said Macaulay, even back when Ralph's daddy was coaching, is so fundamentally sound. When you play them, they've got great athletes, but they are just so fundamentally sound that, you got to play a perfect ball game against them. And it's still the same. It's Coach Potter's just bringing it just like his dad did back in the day. And, I was really surprised about that because, like I said, it was a 3-point game early in the season. And then the only thing they didn't do is throw the shutout the other night.
But anyway, so yeah, that was kind of a great way to get it started. And obviously with being the final game of the night, definitely showed that, how well is going to be attended. And that kind of rolled into Friday's action, the start of the public school classifications. And, probably the most dominant team coming into this game or in this weekend, arguably one of those teams is Alcoa. They got the action started on Friday, winning their, not just, Macaulay has won 3 in a row, but Alcoa won their seventh straight state championship Friday morning. I wasn't able to catch that game. I had a few things to do in town, but it was a 45-14 victory over East Nashville. I think that was kind of expected to, I think everybody was kind of surprised that East, that the opponent for Alcoa there, East Nashville, scored more than 10 points. I think that was kind of more a surprise than Alcoa winning the game or even being tested. So Gary Rankin, man, he definitely one of the most, heavy hitter coaches, not just in today's Tennessee high school football, but in the history of the state as well. So definitely congrats to Alcoa. That's definitely, I mean, it doesn't matter what classification it is. I mean, people are going to, bring up the fact, why are they in 3A? Why are they in 3A? Well, obviously the enrollment numbers tell the story where you get placed, but that 7 in a row is definitely impressive. And they've had to beat some tough teams, and they've gone toe to toe with Maryville, so they're not just playing nobody throughout these years. And they definitely flexed their muscle, kind of like Macaulay did the night before. Alcoa did that in that 3A state championship game for sure on Friday morning.
Go ahead.
When I first started coaching, Coach Rankin was, coaching, and everybody said, well, he wins all these state championships because he coaches at Riverdale, right? He was at Riverdale, and he was winning. I think Friday was his 20th state championship that he had.
It was his 17th, I believe, as a head coach total.
Okay.
So you do the math. 20, I think it was 20 overall for Alcoa, but for Rankin himself, 17,
okay,
that's pretty impressive.
And when I first got into coaching, you bring up his name, and they say, oh, he's got all those athletes over there at Riverdale, and they just, but no matter where he's been, and Alcoa, I don't know. I don't know that I would say they've always been a power. I know we played them when I was in high school a lot, and we beat them a lot, but there's a lot to say about him being able to coach and his ability to coach, and they've just picked that thing up and went right on, and they played just about the whole ball game without that big left tackle they got. He hurt his shoulder early on in the game, and that was amazing. But one thing I said during the ball game, I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and they're one of these teams they're moving along there, and you think the score's 14-7 or something like that, and you look at the TV and it's 35-0, and where do all these points come from? And they do it all: offense, defense, kicking game, and everything. Tremendous football program.
Alcoa team that had a Mr. Football winner at quarterback.
Yeah.
Yep. The quarterback Buckles, he definitely probably one of the best quarterbacks in Tennessee. There was some great quarterback play. We'll definitely go into that because you had Ty Simpson at Westview, who was a 2A Mr. Football winner, who was going to the University of Alabama. So I mean, you just have guys like that, and the twins, the Wade twins over at Summit. They are both committed to the University of Kentucky, and one of those guys was at quarterback as well in that 6A showdown. Between Oakland and Summit. But we'll get into that in the next segment.
Is Buckles going anywhere?
I would have to go and look to be sure. I did not read, so
I didn't hear anything of that, but he is somebody needs to be looking at him. He's a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, but we'll hit these next two public school games and then kind of go to break and cover Saturday's action. But I'm going to kind of go with the last game of the night in this spot right here, so we can do more on South Pittsburgh before we go to the break. But Powell and Page, 5A state championship game. Powell coming in, being the strongest team in 5A consistently throughout the year. They were able to handle Ray County pretty well, and to get to the semifinal round, and they made their way to Chattanooga. And if you're looking for offense, not just offensive line play, Coach Stone, but offensive output in general, especially in the passing game, well, you definitely missed one on Friday night. I was able to see this one. You have for the quarterbacks, you had for Powell, Jordan Potts, and then Jake McNamara. If you recognize the McNamara name, I think his brother is playing quarterback in Michigan. So between those two quarterbacks, I think they racked up 700 total yards of passing between those two. So definitely a lot of passing yards on this game, and kind of a back and forth game. Powell got out to a big lead in this game, and then only to see Page come back and make it a 21-20 game at halftime. Powell was able to make it, 42-28, I believe, or 26. And then Page, they had a 42-34 overall. That was the final score in this game. And, the way this game, I don't know, Coach, if you watched this or not, but at the end of the game, Page had just scored to make it 42-34.
Right.
They get the onside kick, and they still have a chance to win with one last shot in the end zone. They weren't able to get that. Powell was able to defend that very well and get out of there for a state championship. So, Coach Lowe, you can definitely see this coming this year. I've mentioned it throughout the year. We were at that Powell and Walker Valley playoff game that the Mustangs won at Walker Valley last year, and you can kind of see there. Potts was getting a little bit better and better, and you could tell it was definitely shaping up to be a special season this coming year, which it definitely was, ending in a Powell Panther state championship in 5A. So definitely congrats to those guys. They definitely got the job done, and they got a big lead. They withstood the onslaught from Page and made a play at the end to win a state championship. That's what it's all about.
I was very impressed with Walter Nolan, but their whole defensive line was they were, you couldn't pay a whole lot of a bunch of attention to Nolan because those other three guys could absolutely beat you to death.
And you bring up Walter Nolan, Coach. Just for our listeners and our viewers, Walter Nolan, he is verbally committed to Texas A&M, but he still has Georgia and Tennessee in his top three. And you talk about his defensive prowess. He had a couple of times where he kind of got banged up a little bit, had to come off the field, but he scored a first half touchdown. Right, they lined him up and they got the ball to the guy. And, he was doing things on the defensive line, and he also scored a touchdown in the state championship. So I did it both ways for his team on Friday night. So,
well, I don't want to be negative about it, but the commentators kept saying, they really didn't feel like he was in good shape physically, but I think that's going to change. I think he's going to be a dominant force in college football. They're going to get him in there, and I wouldn't want to face him, as a coach, because he literally just, when he wants to dominate, he just obliterates everything, and very impressed. And like I was pick up on what you were saying, you could say last year they were going to be a good football team. Then all of a sudden, August 1st, you get the number one defensive lineman in America transfer in. That's something else. But
speaking of Walter Nolan, there, I don't know if you guys saw the media of him talking about Tennessee. You know, he's committed to Texas A&M, and somebody said, "Is it still possible you go to Tennessee?" He said, "Oh, it's possible." You know, he just visited there last weekend. So
if I was Coach Heupel and Coach Garner, the defensive line coach there at Tennessee, I'd, on my way home every day, I just kind of ride by, ride by his house. Maybe throw a card out or something.
Yeah, and see, definitely don't throw a bag from McDonald's out. We'll get away from that, guys, for sure. But that official visit, Wes, you brought that up. He made an official visit the Saturday after that state championship game on Friday night. So definitely a busy 24 to 48 hour period, not just for Powell, but Walter Nolan himself. But and the middle game of the Friday action, I left this for the last part of our segment here because it deserves a lot of attention. For us, and that's South Pittsburgh, man. They came into this game. We talked about it, and Tim Towell, when he joined us last week, talked about them being an underdog, and they definitely didn't show that, guys. A 24-21 victory for South Pittsburgh over McKenzie in that state championship game, and it was just another classic example of this year for South Pittsburgh. They overcome adversity. They were down 14-0. At the end of the first quarter, and they rallied back, scored the next 24 straight points to make it 24-14, and then they held on. McKenzie scored a touchdown late to make it 24-21, but South Pitt was able to recover the onside kick attempt on the very next play and run the clock out, man. So they've had games like that where in the past they've been blowing almost every team out left and right, but they played teams like North Jackson where they had to rally back in the final minute to get a win on the road. They played a very good Dade County team who made the playoffs in Georgia. That was a tough road game for them, which was a close loss. And they played the 6A state champions in Oakland at South Pittsburgh. So they were kind of able to see kind of the caliber athletes that they were going to encounter, not just throughout the playoffs, but in that state championship game. And they derailed McKenzie's perfect season. McKenzie was 14-0 coming into this game. And just seeing some of the McKenzie players after the game on the field, you could definitely tell they were getting very emotional, very upset, not just because a state championship slipped through their fingers, but the perfect season as well. So, for interim coaches Wes Stone and Coach Grotter, man, just the perfect. I would have to say, in my just my not professional opinion, but just my opinion, period, has to be the most satisfying state championship of the six that South Pittsburgh had. Just knowing the adversity they overcame with Coach Coach Jones leaving. Early on in this season, having to rally from that. And it was funny because not everybody was talking about Coach Jones, right? It was about these players, this program, and this community rallying around each other, rallying behind the team, and reaping the rewards, playing in front of your home crowd. I know a lot of the people just coming to the games from Chattanooga, not just from South Pittsburgh, were pulling for the Pirates, and it was definitely a home field advantage. They took advantage of that and got a big, big win on a Friday afternoon.
Going back, and talking about Coach Jones leaving, they didn't miss a beat with that. They didn't bemoan the fact that their head coach had left them. The town of South Pittsburgh, I didn't hear anything of it, and those guys just I guess that's something in my lifetime as a coach. That's just unreal. Those guys the fifth week of the season, they could have, just throwed their hands up and said, heck with this. This is nothing going to go along with me. Now, the one thing I am aggravated is you all have not asked me yet about Coach Stone.
Let's hear it.
Well,
go ahead.
He's my cousin. I'm proud of him.
I know.
No,
I've heard the connection there for sure, right? A stone is, a stone's throw, right? So there you go. the stone does not get thrown far from the trees.
I've never been more happy for a football program than I was Friday.
But just going back to what you were saying, I mean, I know for a fact people were upset about that for sure, and rightfully so, right? I mean, you spend a summer buying into the program, but I'm not going to waste time on that because again, this story is about this team and this program because, like you said, Coach Stone, they could have just been like, okay, whatever, this season's done anyway. But you know what? They stayed together, they believed in each other. And really, that North Jackson game, I think I've said it throughout the year. We were there for the Red Zone for our game of the week. That was, I think, to me, the turning point for that season because, they got down, I think it was like 17-0 at halftime, right? Rallied back to take, and then they won 21-20. And, they made plays. It was fairly early. It was not that long after the coaching change. So, I mean, they're still trying to get adjusted to that and playing a tough opponent on the road for the first time. And, that, like I said, they definitely learned lessons from that and carried it on into the season, along with those other close games and really good teams that they played throughout the year for sure.
I tell you what flipped that state championship game there for South Pittsburgh was the fumble recovery that they took back for a touchdown.
Yep.
That really flipped momentum. It got it in South Pittsburgh's favor, and they really took off from there. Jeff K., a quick question. Whenever South Pittsburgh played Oakland earlier this year, I meant to ask this, and I don't know why I did. Are they doing like a home and home type thing? Does South Pittsburgh go to Oakland, say, next year or the year after?
I would have to confirm that, but I would imagine they would because I don't see a team like Oakland, coming to
Just
South
doing
Pittsburgh, just like a
Okay.
one-off thing. So I mean, I can probably say with 99% certainty that will be a return trip next year. But I'll have to confirm that.
I'll tell you that. I mean, that'll be just another big game over in Oakland. I mean, South Pittsburgh going there, and you saw what happened this year. A decent game down there this year, but Oakland just had a little bit more athletes there on the field.
For
there.
sure. I mean, just the number and the caliber of athletes they had. I mean, that was gonna be a tough thing to overcome, even at home. But give those guys credit for willing to play a team like that because they like I mentioned before, and we'll talk about in the next segment. Just several Division I offers and athletes on Oakland's team, and they definitely showed that. And South Pitt held tough with them for a while, and I think that definitely got them ready for the tough November stretch, which ended with a state championship for sure. And one more thing before we go to you, Coach Stone. I don't know if you kept up with this, but after the game was over, did you happen to see the route that South Pittsburgh took to go home after the game?
I did not.
They made a little detour off of I-24 with the escort, with the police sirens and the lights going. Through which city? Jasper.
It's not Marion County to those folks.
Nope, it's Jasper. They took the scenic route, quote unquote, home to just kind of make sure that that everybody knew, hey, we won a state championship. So even though they didn't play on the field this year, the rivalry still lives, and that's why we love it so much.
That was something I learned from Coach Don Grider. We were at a meeting one time, and he was talking about, well, we're going to play Jasper the 8th week of the season. And I'm sitting there looking, just caught me by surprise. And I said, well, where's Jasper? He said, over there, it's over there down the road. He wouldn't call them Marion County. and then Vic did the same thing, and every one of those guys did the same thing. But one thing I was going to throw in there is, when that coaching change happened, Wes Stone was on the staff, but Heath Grider wasn't even coaching.
Yeah, he was in the school administration and the athletic director, but came back to help. To help Cousin Stone there for sure.
Well, they were telling about Coach Stone had like a 25-minute drive every day, I guess from one school to another. Is that true?
Yeah, he teaches somewhere else, and it's a 45-minute actually drive just to get to practice every day. So you see the commitment, not just from the players, but guys like Coach Stone as well, to kind of keep this thing together. And the effort definitely paid off. And I know we're going to take a break, Wes, but one more thing. It was definitely a South Pittsburgh weekend because let's just throw in the fact too, the Tennessee Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame induction was this weekend as well, or last weekend. And Vic Grider got inducted as a class of 2021 nominee. So it was just meant to be, and it was definitely a South Pittsburgh black and orange weekend for sure.
That's great, and great for Coach Grider, and great for South Pittsburgh as a whole. So let's take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with segment 2 of the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team FYN Sports. Welcome back to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Press Box podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Let's jump right into Saturday. We've covered Thursday and Friday. Real quick, let's cover those Saturday games. Jeff, go ahead and kick that off.
Yeah, I mean, no local connections, in these slate of games, but that definitely did not stop as far as like a great slate of matchups on paper. 2 of the 3 games I was looking forward to the most were on this day, I should say, and it got started early, guys. With that 11 o'clock Saturday game between Tullahoma and Elizabethton in the excuse me, man, I'm getting choked up too there, Wes. In the 4A state championship game, if you know Elizabethton, you know the name Witten, and Jason Witten's brother Sean is the coach at Elizabethton, and for Tullahoma, John Olive looking for their first state championship in school history, and Tullahoma brought a ton of people down to Finley Stadium for that game, and if you looked at the TV or if you've seen pictures, I took one. I got there right before the end of the game, and they had filled the entire visitors section or the visitor sideline at Finley Stadium almost. So it rivaled the Macaulay and South Pittsburgh attendance, I think. And, they were definitely excited. It was hard to find a place to park for a lot of the normal people. And just trying to find a place to park for that game was definitely a tough thing to do. But double overtime thriller, guys. I mean, what more can you ask for in a state championship game like this? Tullahoma, an interception in the end zone on 4th down against Elizabethton to solidify a 21-14 state championship. And, kind of bouncing ahead for John Olive, a state championship was also his last game as the head coach at Tullahoma. He announced his retirement early this week. And so, like we talked about before we jumped on air tonight, guys, what a way to walk off with to steal a baseball term, hitting it into the cheap seats for sure. Just a great walk off for him, and just a great win, for Tullahoma. First state championship in school history. Is like the whole town, kind of like we mentioned South Pittsburgh, is like the whole town of Tullahoma came to support their team, and what just a great, phenomenal football game. I was able to see that interception from the stands. I was standing there just watching the crowd, and one of my guys who came down for the weekend from Knoxville, he was sitting in the Tullahoma section when that interception happened. He just said, like, the ground shook underneath him, just everybody, raising their arms and cheering. And he said there was some crying, a lot of high fives, a lot of hugging. So high school football means a lot to a lot of people, not just around here, but the state in general. So, definitely congrats to Tullahoma, man, because that was a great football game, obviously double overtime, and a great way to finish the season for those guys for sure.
The great thing about Coach Olive is it's not always been easy over there. He's had some 0-10 seasons, and he kept hanging in there, and they kept hanging in with him. And I knew he was a great coach. He coached at Maryville for a while, just right before they started really going, and I think he's probably part of that success. Probably could have been the head man, if I'm not mistaken. He might have been the head man at Maryville for a few years, but I give him credit for perseverance, through some tough seasons and win that one, and like I said, knock that ball out of the park. Now, I tell you, the offensive line play, of Elizabethton.
Sure.
Tullahoma kicked off, and Elizabethton kept the ball for almost 9 minutes and scored on the first drive. But I was watching that. They did a good job. Now that was 2 great teams in a great football game, double overtime. Man, I tell you, that was some excitement.
Well, it's let's just kind of compare this as well. 15-0 season, right? First state championship game appearance, first state championship, victory in their 100th season as a football program. So I mean, just a whole lot of milestones piled into one thing. In addition to Coach Olive riding off into the sunset with all those things and a state championship in his bag. So I mean, you could have written a script better than that. And they definitely put the exclamation point at the end of that script right there on Saturday morning for sure. So definitely a big one for Tullahoma.
I really thought that was probably the best football game of the whole weekend. I really did, and plus, it kind of gives you cold chills when the announcers started talking about how many buses were leaving Tullahoma when they left, and when they asked for volunteers in the police department, to provide the escort, they said they had every policeman that had a car in the escort out, and that's you can't beat that.
Oh, for sure, yeah, definitely, and just a great way to kick off the last day of action, right? I mean, that's definitely a great thing. And leading up to that game, I would have said that South Pittsburgh McKenzie game was going to be the best game of the weekend as far as what was going on the field. But yeah, Tullahoma just definitely punted that thing out of the stadium as far as like being the best game, and that wound up being the case. But there was two other games to end this slate of high school football action at the Blue Cross Bowl 2021 here in town. So we'll just dive right into it. The 2A state championship game, I think everybody, especially here on this show, was expecting either Meigs County or Marion County or Tyner to fight for a spot in the state championship game. So, but that wasn't the case. And believe it or not, Westview played Hampton. Hampton was a team that beat Trousdale County. I did not see that coming because Trousdale, after they beat Meigs in that first or second round matchup, I thought they were going to make it here as well because they're just a tough football team. But Westview, they're located in Martin, Tennessee. And they were led by quarterback Ty Simpson, who is committed to the University of Alabama at this moment. Game's MVP, leading his team to a 55-14 win. This game, it was close in the first quarter. That's pretty much it, y'all. So, I mean, if you want to go and see kind of how this game unfolded, just go look at Simpson's stat line and just kind of see how he did, because he is definitely a special talent. And just looking, I'm going to look down here through and see if I can find some of his passing here, guys. Well, he was 5 of 10 for 99 yards, 3 touchdown passes, but he did a lot of his damage on the ground. 10 rushes, 181 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So you look at that stat line, 5 touchdowns rushing and passing, and just lining it up, offensively for Westview. They got a state championship, and anybody that's familiar with the name Ty Simpson, his dad, Jason Simpson, was a coach here at UTC back years ago, but he's also the head coach now at UT Martin. So I don't think his dad was there because, being the football dad he was, but I did see him jump over the fence, go into the crowd, and hug his mom as that game was winding down. So that was definitely a special moment. Another example of why high school football is so great. Just seeing just the toll, not just the toll, I should say, but just the emotions and just the dedication it takes, not just from the players, but the players' families as well, to have a successful student athlete for sure.
So he was only 5 of 10 for 99 yards.
It's not bad, right?
It felt like he was 24 of 25 for about 370 yards.
Yep.
To me, I mean, Hampton moved the ball down the field pretty well, and then they scored. And then all of a sudden, 2 plays later, they were in the end zone. I was very impressed with him. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say this: if I was him, I wouldn't be going to Alabama. I mean, he's going to sit behind the Heisman Trophy winner for 2 years.
I mean, Coach, every guy that goes to Alabama knows that, don't they?
That's true.
But, I mean, you brought up, Hampton being able to move the ball. I mean, I think Westview had like 364 yards total offense, and Hampton was right behind them. They were right around 330. So, I mean, as far as offensive yardage output, it was definitely pretty much even. But the thing that set them apart, we know that MVP Ty Simpson. So definitely a special guy and had a great season. And definitely, I heard, reading a little bit about him going in this week. I kind of wanted to see how he does. He was as good as advertised, and hopefully he does it good at the next level, except the third Saturday in October if he goes to Alabama.
I coached. I'm pretty sure I coached against the Hamptons coach dad. I think he was at he was up in Upper East Tennessee at Cloudland. I think he was up there. But anyway, their offenses look just alike. But you go back to Elizabethton, you take Hampton, and if they could get ahead, a couple of touchdowns. But you almost felt like Westview was, when Hampton got it in there and stuck it in, there wasn't no worry at all that this was going to, they were going to march right back down the field and score and, get a stop and score again, get a stop and score again. And all of a sudden, you can toss Hampton's game plan out the window.
Yep, no doubt. But yeah, and let's end this segment with the game that had the most star power as far as what you see in the recruiting services. Right, the 6A matchup, Oakland against Summit. Didn't get to see Oakland this year, but they did play South Pittsburgh, so you kind of knew. But I mean, if you've been keeping up with high school football over the last several years, Oakland and the story with them, and just the football team they are, man. Because I mean, they're the ones kind of compete with not Alcoa, but Maryville. For that top spot in Tennessee's highest classification in public school. So, they came out and they got behind 6-0 against Summit, but wound up winning this 6A state championship game, guys. It was 43-26. Oakland defeated Summit, and just looking at we mentioned some of these guys that are probably going to play at the next level. If you look at Summit, they have two twins, Destin and Keaton Wade. Right, Destin was the guy who was the quarterback for Summit, and he was doing the damage through the air and on the ground, just having some very tough runs inside the red zone, especially on fourth down near the goal line. Got some touchdowns there, but Oakland just had too much, guys. And the MVP for that game was the MVP of Jordan James. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with this guy, but he is committed to Georgia. And, not just in the, rushing, I mean, that's where he did the most damage, but he was effective in the passing game as well. But, Jordan James, 234 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So that just goes to show the kind of performance at the highest level of this classification of football to be fed like he did 20. I think he was close to 30 carries. I think it was 27 or 28 carries, but he eclipsed that 230 mark and definitely made his presence known. And, if he sticks to Georgia, Kirby Smart's getting himself a heck of an athlete, coming out of a really good football team that got it done once again in the state championship game.
He looks like a Georgia clone, a Georgia running back clone. I'm just telling you. When I saw him run, first time I'd ever seen him run, he is, but he looks bigger than I think he is, but. He runs hard. He's got some speed, got great moves, and those are two great football teams. Summit was a good one. They were 5A state champs last year,
and they moved up to 6A, and it was great to have a matchup with two defending state champions going head to head.
Yeah,
and for Oakland as well, Cade Hewitt, who was the quarterback for the Patriots, he had a great season as well, but. With James doing his damage, I mean, you look at his stat line, 6 of 9. So you do the math. Only 9 pass attempts, 6 completions, 160 yards through the air. So, I mean, you look at just the little bit he threw the football and how many yards he got to his receivers in addition to James doing that. So it was just a complete domination for them. But, yeah, I was definitely impressed with the Wade twins because, like I said, Destin, the quarterback, he was hitting some very nice throws down the field, especially across the middle, and getting some very tough yards and scoring a couple touchdowns tough on the ground as well. And him and his twin brother are committed to the University of Kentucky right now. So a lot of SEC star power in that game, and definitely a great way to end a great weekend of football in Chattanooga.
Absolutely, I thought no better way to end that weekend than with all the star power, like you said, on the field at the same time, and just being able to watch those athletes, put their talents on the field, and it's really, really fun to watch.
From a coaching standpoint, I was in Tennessee coached in Tennessee for 30 years. And I think I saw more talent on the field than at any time in my coaching career. You got, I tell a lot of people, and I don't do this to bash anybody, but when I went to Georgia, it was unreal. It was unreal. We played Buford in our region, 12, 13 kids, signing D1 scholarships at the end of the year. We played some other schools, and then you go look at their state championships, and they're all over the place. And that's one thing I can say. Tennessee has made vast improvements. With athletes, with you're talking about, you got the number one defensive lineman in the state of Tennessee or in America here, and then you got this Jordan James, you got Ty Simpson, you got there's young men everywhere, and that makes me proud as a coach to see Tennessee football picking up. No, they're not the Georgia and Florida and Texas yet, but we're working at it.
I mean, it's not just the Power Fives as well. I know we got to go to break, West, but I mean, it's not just Power Fives, but it's also some kids that will be contributing at the FCS level, which is some pretty good football as well. If you look at some of the teams that some of these players are going to, so I mean, definitely keep up with some of these these teams and these players that played here this weekend. And I'll put the call out already for this time next year. If you're in town or anywhere close and you want to see some good high school football, make the trip down here, man. Because I mean, you never know. Because I mean, you can say that, hey, I saw Walter Nolan on Friday nights before he started lining it up on Saturdays, or name any kid, Ty Simpson, whoever. So I guess I think you definitely say that's true, Coach. In my time on the Red Zone, just the opportunities are getting more and more. I think Huddle and online services like that are definitely help seeing some of these kids getting more notice as opposed to just showing up on campus like the old school way or in helicopters. I don't know if you guys saw that video on Twitter, but Kirby Smart came in on helicopter at Calhoun High School in Georgia. So I mean, that's just the day and time we live in. But yeah, just the athletes are getting better as far as getting noticed, and just the opportunities are there. So definitely it's good to see not just kids in our local area, but the state getting these opportunities to show their talents on Saturdays.
I'll say one thing real quick. In 1997, I coached in the Tennessee-Kentucky All-Star game. And the year before, Coach Mullinax was in 96, and Tim Couch was the quarterback for Kentucky. And then in 97, I was assistant coach, and we had hopefully y'all remember the name John Henderson. Y'all heard of John Henderson?
Outland Trophy winner, Tennessee, great defensive lineman. West, well, probably before West's time. So.
Well, Coach, I'm just 22 years old.
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't even developing eyelids back then.
I'll sit down and talk to you someday about it. This kid was 6'8", about 300 pounds, and ran about a 4.7 40. I've never seen anything like it. And we go up there and we win the ball game, and we got a single A linebacker that intercepts a ball to win the ball game for us. And the kid, was too slow, quote, too slow to play college football. He didn't even, he was added to the team later. And but just to be around John Henderson, they called him Big John, just to be around him, it was amazing. And we had a kid from Red Bank that went to Alabama that was, just superior. But the talent, I love the talent. And I saw a lot of talent as I moved around the state or around the area this football season. We got a lot of good young talent here in Southeast Tennessee.
Sure do. And it'll be fun to watch that over the coming years, as they grow and get bigger and stronger and hopefully compete for these state championships, and hopefully in Chattanooga for the time. A long time coming. Let's take another quick commercial break. We'll have about 10 minutes on the flip side. Talk a little bit about some Christmas things. We've talked a little bit about Christmas before on this podcast. Let's just keep on talking about that. We'll be right back on the Friday Night Press Box, presented by Team FYN Sports. Welcome back to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Press Box, presented by Team FYN Sports. Guys, before we get into this Christmas talk, I just so happened to open Facebook on my phone. First thing I saw from 5 Star Preps, a high school football player in East Tennessee needs help. He plays football at DeKalb County High School, lost his home and his father in a house fire on the night of December the 7th. Donations can be sent to First Bank of Smithville in the name of Alex. Casey Midget is the contact at the bank. So if you're out there, if you're listening to the podcast, time of giving here.
I got one of those calls one morning about probably 20 years ago. Had a young man that played for me at McMinn Central. House caught on fire. He lived with his grandparents. He went back in to get them out, and they got out, and he was burned up. We had a tragedy here in Etowah. Not a former athlete, but a tragedy. A friend of our family's. We kind of considered him family. Killed in a car wreck yesterday morning, and graduated from McMinn Central yesterday, and just a great kid, lovable. But I hate to hear those things, just like what you're talking about.
Yeah, if we find that link on Twitter or something, the Friday Night Press Box Twitter handle, we'll probably tweet that out. We'll do the same thing, Wes, if we can find that, because 5 Star Preps are usually pretty good about having stuff like that on Twitter as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And if you can find anything, find some goodness in your hearts this holiday season, because anytime, not just you losing family members, but losing your possessions as well, especially this time of year. Definitely a good thing to give to for sure.
I'll tell you one good thing. Go ahead.
Can I say something? Anybody in Etowah, if you buy the farmhouse, there's a bucket there at the cash register. If you could throw $1 or $2 in there to help the family and stuff. This has been a very tragic deal, and I know anytime you lose kids, like the kid from DeKalb, it's tough. It's tough on everybody, and this community here is just kind of numb right now.
Volunteer firefighter, and he just a good kid. He was he was a freshman whenever I was a senior, so I knew him very little, but a good kid. Guys, let's get into some Christmas spirit here. Let's talk. What is on the table on Christmas Eve? What's being cooked on Christmas Eve? What's the family's go-to? Go ahead, Coach Stone.
Can Linda be on the show?
Mm-hmm.
You got to.
We need to see Linda.
What I say?
I like that answer better.
What you
say?
I sweet potato casserole. I guess turkey. I've fallen in love with ham lately.
Yeah, man, it's so good.
And cranberry sauce? Is that what it is? I love that. I don't know. You look at me and you think, heck, what's he pick? He probably eats everything that's put out there.
I mean, to me, for me and my family, it's Aunt Bethany's, catnip inspired green Jello. Right? Just kidding.
Do you say the Pledge of Allegiance as well, Jeff?
I mean, I say play ball every time we get done lighting the Christmas tree. What are you talking about? No, I mean ham is definitely good. My wife can make a pecan pie cake that's really, really good. That's tough for me to put down. I said we may have to take a time out this year and kind of regroup from the last few years, man, because I could put my weight down in that stuff. So it's definitely good stuff as far as the sweets go. But yeah, a good ham with just really well seasoned and just falls right off the bone. Just you can't beat that for sure. But I mean, really, is there really a bad food for Christmas time? Right? I mean, it could be something as simple as like green bean casserole or something like that, or like just the quintessential ham that's just juicy and full of flavor for sure.
Okay, so let me tell you what the Dunkel household we have done the past 6 or 7 years.
The duck's smiling at you, right?
So
story.
it's smiling at me. The good part there. But the Dunkel household, over the past 6 or 7 years, we have turned one. It used to be chicken casserole. We used to do a big chicken casserole, and that's what we did. Mama got tired of making chicken casserole. So what we have done is we have gone to an all-day appetizer feast. We start in the morning, breakfast. Cinnamon, not a big one, cinnamon rolls, cereal, even some other things. Lunch is like normally potato soup with cornbread and a few other things. Then after lunch, we move into like early dinner. We have a pre-dinner and a dinner. So pre-dinner, listen to this, Coach Stone. Cheese sticks, normally like chicken nuggets or chicken tenders, and waffle fries. And then we do a dinner, which is like full chicken tenders, everything. It's just appetizers all day long, and we have grown to love it. And another thing that we do that is different from most families. Normally, my dad he used to work on Christmas Eve, and we would wait till he gets home, and we did their gifts, mom and dad's presents at one time, and then Santa would come. Well, a couple years ago, we talked Dad into. We normally, we get a set number of gifts. My mom would get me and my brother, the same number of gifts, and they're numbered. And so what we would do is we would always try to talk them into, hey, let's start at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and just do one gift every hour instead of doing one set time. And so we have taken that in, and we do one gift every hour until we run out of gifts. And Christmas Story comes on at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and it's just a great time with the Dunkel household.
I like that. I'll tell you what, my mother-in-law had these.
Careful.
Had these. No, it was my wife that passed away. She had these big old bowls. They looked like they were neat bowls. Matter of fact, she gave them to me when she passed away. And I was at her house one night, and they had this big one, and then it got another one's a little bit smaller, and then it goes down to like a cereal bowl. And so we were at her house one night, and she said, "Well, what do you want me to make for Christmas or Thanksgiving, whatever?" I said, "I want a banana pudding in that big bowl." We go over there, whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving, whatever, and it's all the way to the top. And she's telling everybody, that's Mark's. That's Mark's banana pudding. If you want banana pudding, you gotta ask him. But
I bet your name was marked or written with
Sharpie on, yeah,
or vanilla wafers on top of the pudding.
Yeah, I mean, I had a big old M there and everything, and so Linda is she can do the same thing, and the bowl's still here. So, no, I like that, Wes.
It's become a great tradition that we love. One gift every hour. That way you just don't tear through everything. You got all that paper you got to clean up. No, you just do one an hour. You throw that paper away at that time, and it stays clean. I'm telling you guys, it's the way to do it.
We used to do,
and you got to throw your bow or your little ribbon in the tree and see if it sticks.
Oh, we used to do breakfast casserole. Mm-hmm. It was biscuits and scrambled eggs and sausage, and we'd get up early and eat that, And that's when the boys wanted to open their presents, and then we'd take off until the big family dinner, about 3:00 in the afternoon. So
Yeah.
I could see the Cade household having a set routine.